even last year it started, prior to 1010 and all of that. So it's been a bit of a crypto winter for a lot of them. So I guess you mentioned some alts that you're still bullish on and relate to the AI trade. You're obviously still bullish on SUI and Solana, it seems. But alts more broadly and as a broad asset class, in terms of the others chart compared to Bitcoin, etc., and Bitcoin dominance, measuring the metrics of altcoins versus Bitcoin. Do you think we're still going to see this massive all-in altcoin rally that we've seen in the past? Do you think that alts still have chance this year? What's your view on that?
Yes, I do. It's all about the risk curve. All assets are priced according to a risk curve. The least risky asset is Bitcoin. The most risky is a meme coin. So what happens is when Bitcoin goes down and liquidity is withdrawn, the most risky assets fall. What happened after liquidity was withdrawn from the US because of the rebuilding of the TGA and the government shutdown? The riskiest asset, Bitcoin fell. NASDAQ didn't really. So it always happens the same way. It happens in the credit markets with treasuries and emerging market junk bonds. It's always the same process. So if Bitcoin falls 30%, ETH's going to fall 40, Solana's going to fall 65, SUI's going to fall 70, and meme coins are going to fall 95. That's normal. It's just a normal risk curve. And so it's not about a lack of demand, it's about a lack of risk taking due to liquidity conditions and disposable income. So then let's play forward to what we talked about at the very beginning. What do we expect this year? The business cycle to rise. What does the business cycle do? It gives us all more money in our pockets, more confidence in the economy, more risk taking. So when you put the ETH Bitcoin cross against the ISM, it's the same thing. It's all the same thing. It's all the business cycle. And so when the business cycle picks up, people go out the risk curve. So what alts you own? Okay, that's the hard thing. That has always been the hard thing in alts, right? It's not, people think alt season and think it's your God-given right that your bag will go up, but that's not how it works. Particularly the more and more tokens there are, a whole bunch of this stuff is uninvestable, will never get investment. So you have to ask yourself, is there provable network adoption and attention? And those things give you a higher quality trade than, hey, XYZ thing is down 95%, it looks cheap. Is that going to work? To a certain extent, yes, because the liquidity flows through the market making, and what happens is it tends to readjust prices on a relative basis. But the best thing is just to think carefully about what you're buying. If you want to do alt season sensibly, you're pretty easy to buy Ethereum and Solana. It's not that difficult. Same trade.
Exactly. You don't have to necessarily go down the risk curve. You can just invest in the most established networks with the most network effect.
Maybe you put 50% of your capital in Solana and ETH. Then you've got 50%, you can go a bit further out the risk curve. So let's say some of the layer ones that are interesting, and maybe some applications layers. And then a couple of your pet projects that might do really well in AI or whatever. Right? That'll give you a relatively balanced portfolio where you can't fuck it up. Because if not, everybody fucks it up.
And then in terms of particular narratives that gain mind share, you've talked about AI, of course, as it relates to the AI trade, but any other crypto narratives or niches that you think could be interesting apart from the L1 and AI trade?
It tends to rotate anyway. And I don't like the narrative trade. It's too hard. It's too hard because capital is super fast in crypto. And by the time you hear about the narrative trade, everyone's moving on to the next one. So I'm very cautious of following narratives. My basic thesis is, will we use more block space in the future? What kind of block space do we need? And then even the applications layer is difficult to do. Hyperliquid now might seem the best thing in the world. Where does it stand in 3 years' time? I don't know. It feels more difficult to me than saying, will a layer one that is quality and has proven itself end up with more usage over time? I try and avoid all of the narrative stuff and just really zoom out and say what is likely to survive. So let's talk about BitTensor, which I don't have an investment in, although I keep looking at it. There is some traction within it of what's happening. People are using it. The narrative feels right. It feels directionally right. Is it going to be the one? I have no idea. It's not. These aren't easy. Zcash, another great one. Privacy. It's a very clear, clean, memetic understanding. It probably does decently well, and other privacy solutions. but then we'll see other blockchains introducing privacy solutions of different ways. So maybe it becomes less of an issue. But also, those of us who've been around crypto long enough, I'm not sure I want to fight with the bloody governments all over again.
Yeah, that's true. Exchange delistings and things
Let
like that.
somebody else do that fight, a younger
Yeah,
generation.
exactly. Yeah, I think it's a good point. Like, no need to think too hard about the kind of narrative that could be hot or not, and trying to think about all the different apps themselves. Just buy the underlying infra, right? I mean, and think about, for example, tokenized stocks and on Solana, stablecoins and Ethereum. So holding the underlying infra as long as the network keeps growing.
I find the layer one's the easiest trade of all. It's like, is the finance sector going to use Ethereum in its various short forms? Most likely. Will they use Solana as well? Yes, probably. And then people get down but the layer twos and blah, blah, blah. Like, you have no idea how big finance is. The DTCC clears like $4 quadrillion of trades a year. Stick that onto a layer two, it's going to create enough demand for the layer one to go up too.